Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 388. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're honored to have with us the nationally recognized and award-winning writer and illustrator of the Mr. Fuzzy Ears series, Donna Carr.
Hi. Thank you.
Donna,
Thank you.
how's it going?
Great.
Yeah.
I'm, as you know, we just recently launched our third book, so lots going on.
Yeah, because it came out June 2024, is that right?
Yes, it did.
And so we're going to talk about that because you had so for the longest time you had, so we're talking about the Mr. Fuzzy Ears series, and
Yes.
you had the first one was Searching for a Furry Friend. The second one was A Mystery of the Missing Bunnies.
You got it.
And then When Bad Things Happen is the third book in the series that just came out this past year.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Well, and the books are written in such a way that if you read them in sequence, they'll mean more. But if you read each one individually, it still stands on its own. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're good.
Right. And but your sir, The Mystery of the Missing Bunnies was the one that got the awards too, right?
It was.
Okay.
And actually, When Bad Things Happen is getting awards. I know Goodreads has nominated it to be in the running for the category of best children's book of the year.
Right. Wow. Okay.
One of the other things that I'm really proud of is that several critics, several art people, and book historians I've shown it to have compared my artwork to Beatrix Potter, which is probably the highest compliment because I'm old-fashioned. I like the old-fashioned hand-drawn images, and whether I realized it or not, I think she influenced me. So, yep.
And like I said, like unlike other children's book authors and stuff, you actually are the author and the artist for these books.
I am, and I live in this childish mind of mine. So, and I have serious artwork. I do a lot of commission portraits, but my favorite work is more funky and childlike, and I just think you should have fun with art. So, why have it there if it's not enjoyable? So.
And also too that you have a love for animals as well with this.
I do.
So how would you say that your love of animals has influenced your art and storytelling as well?
Well, the reason I did the first book is we were living in Illinois at the time, and I was on the board with the Humane Society. And I hear at the meetings, I would hear stories about animals that have been rescued and the budgets that everybody has to deal with to be able to keep the organization going. And at the meetings, I would tell funny stories about what my dogs did. And the PR director for the Humane Society, whose name happened to be Kitty, suggested, she says, you should really write a story about your dogs. And so the first book, I can say, is almost written by the dogs because the artwork came first from the antics of my dogs. There's Mr. Mouse. And and the story just kind of developed. And he's Mr. Fuzzy Ears is loved by his humans, but he's looking for a friend, and he looks in all the wrong places until he goes to the Humane Society. And and Preston the cat. And actually, the animals that I painted in the Humane Society section were animals I actually saw at that Humane Society. So they were adoptable animals. Wow. Okay. And what surprised me too is that when I did readings in schools, I would always ask children if they were aware of what the Humane Society was, wherever they live, whatever the name is called, some sort of animal rescue. And only 10% of the classes I talked to were aware of Humane Society work and what they do, which was stunning. So I was very glad I was doing it to spread the word as to what they did. And I eventually took Humane Society representatives with me to the schools with adoptable pets. I'm sure the parents were thrilled about that. But anyway, that's pretty much how it started. And then it was so popular, and kids love animals, and the story is a very happy, positive story with good messages in it. There's a scene where he's meeting um, Scamper the bunny, and he hears. You very rarely see humans in the book. It's all the animals. And when he's talking to the rabbit, the bunny, to find out how she came to be there, she said she was given to a child as an Easter gift. Not think, whoever gave her wasn't thinking this is a live creature that has to be cared for. And they couldn't, the little boy didn't know how to take care of her, so she went back to the Humane Society. And she makes the comment that everyone needs to understand that when you adopt a pet, it's a responsibility and you have to be ready for it. So there's little tiny messages in there of guidance without being preachy, because it comes from the animal.
And so, Mr. Fuzzy Ears, was he an inspiration to one of your any of your dogs that you've had?
Actually, yeah. Again, when I decided to write the book, I had done a watercolor drawing of our dog at the time, who was Scamp. And he had these amazing, he was a cross between a Cairn Terrier and a Westie. And he had these ears with this amazing hair coming out of them. So his nickname was Fuzzy Ears.
Okay.
And so he was the inspiration. And all 4 dogs in the first book are our dogs. And then the second book is about too much time on social media, which is very needed right now. And that is where Mr. Fuzzy Ears is asked to come to a college campus where all the bunnies living on campus have disappeared. So
Huh.
he gets his police uniform, he goes to get his police donut, and he interviews animals on campus to find out where the bunnies have gone, and he finds them in the computer building playing. Oh, there's Aloysius. He's one of our I love Aloysius. He's the one who kind of guides Officer Fuzzy Ears on where to find the bunnies. And there he is getting his police donut. Yes, every policeman needs his donut. And and when he finds the bunnies, they're all distracted. They're all on screen things.
Hmm.
So he lectures the bunnies about um, not spending so much time on screen things, that they need to spend more time. Oh yes, that's in the first book and the second book. He keeps getting hit on the head with an acorn. Um, you'd think he'd learn. You'd think he'd learn. But anyway, he finds the bunnies, and meanwhile, someone is stealing their carrots from their garden because they're not paying attention. And so that's kind of the little moral of the story. If you spend too much time on your cell phone, somebody's going to steal your carrots. So
Uh, so, as we mentioned, you're an artist as well, fine artists, and so how does your art technique differ in the sense of color palettes, as compared to, say, if you're painting something with like oils and stuff?
well, I have my favorite colors that I use in both mediums. Oils are richer and have more texture. If I'm doing a commission portrait, or I'm doing something that I really want to have power when you're looking at it in the gallery, then oil is great because it gives you that feeling of originality. Watercolors I love because they have their own personality. You can
Mm.
put the color down, and depending on how much paint you use and how much water, it kind of flows. And watercolors are difficult because they're unforgiving. You put it down, you can't erase it or paint over it. It's there, and you have to save your whites. But for these books, watercolors were absolutely perfect because I wanted that soft feel. And in fact, the colors in the third book are softer than the colors in books 1 and 2 because I wanted that calm feeling, that very
Okay.
soft feeling to help cushion the story for the child.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us.
So
And that was going to be my next question is like, how do you feel your artistic style has evolved over time, especially when you're creating art that's specifically for children?
well, initially, see, I drew and sketched when I was a kid, but this was, like back in the 50s and 60s. And my family was not rich, and I said, I have to get a job. So I'm going to put that aside, and had a business career. And then around 2000, I kind of backed down. I had situations where I had more free time, and I thought, I'm going to see if I can still draw. I had never painted. And it was around 2004 I started painting with an art group where they taught me how to use watercolors.
Mm.
And I was stunned. I mean, it just flowed. It just came right out, and I was very comfortable with it and had won awards. And people were saying they'd like me to do a portrait because I love doing people and animals. But they wanted them in oils. So then I had to kind of take a step back and rethink it because they're totally different processes. But I don't like being one dimensional. So this is good. I like being able to do watercolor, do oils. I've done charcoal. I even did a bronze sculpture of Mr. Fuzzy Ears. So it's just, I like challenging myself. I love to do things that scare me. I think
Mm.
about something and think, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, which makes me want to do it. So,
Let's talk a little bit about your latest Mr. Fuzzy Ears novel. We're talking
okay.
about When Bad Things Happen. What inspired you to tackle the subject of loss of when bad things happen?
Yeah, when I did books 1 and 2, it was right when COVID was hitting. And I
Mm.
was reading them to schools, and I always ask children, it's my target market. Why not ask them what they'd like to have? So I would always ask at the end of a reading what they'd like to have Mr. Fuzzy Ears do next. And they started asking about dealing with death. And these are kids that are in kindergarten through third, fourth grade. And it really hit me. I thought, oh my, death, I can't talk about that. These are warm and fuzzy books. And it was because they were hearing so much about death on the news. And then I looked around, and I try purposely not to read other children's books because I don't want to be influenced by someone else's ideas. But I asked around with a lot of my friends, and they said, nobody has really addressed that issue satisfactorily. I think people are afraid of it. So
Mm.
I've done a lot of research with child psychologists on what they recommend to parents to help a child heal, whether it's from a death of a pet, a death of a grandmother, or whatever. So I took down some of the key points of what needs to be addressed and worked that into the storyline in the book. And so I am so proud of this book because, as I tell everybody, it will make you cry, it will make you laugh, and it will make you heal. Um, I just read the book this afternoon to a couple of ladies at the local Humane Society where we're going to do some community programs together. They had not read the book, and in the book, the dogs write letters to the dog that passes away, and they each have their own personality and their own little story. And these women started crying while I was reading it, which I shouldn't be laughing, but it was exactly the reaction I've gotten from everyone. And then on the next
Right.
page, they start laughing because that's where it takes you. But I'm very proud of it. I think it's a book that every family needs to help guide the parents and help get the child to be okay, understanding, and accepting. And it's doing it. Everyone who has gotten the book has just raved about it. So I'm, if I don't make a penny on it, it's okay. Of course, my husband would not say that, but just getting it out there and providing something that has been needed, that's been avoided because people are afraid of the subject.
Right. Can you share any feedback of the stories from families who have used your book to help children?
Yeah. Well, actually, there was several adults when I first wrote the story and was sending the draft to my friends. A couple of my friends wrote back. One lady had just lost her husband. Another lady had lost her brother. The schoolmate of one of their another family's child had died, and all of these people said, "Wow, this not only helped my child, but it really helped me." It's something
Mm.
that, even though it's written for a child, the emotion in there um, helped the adult that was reading it. And we're working locally here on providing several copies of the book to give to an organization that it's called Pet Angels, I think, and where they meet with families who have lost a pet and they're grieving. And she said, it's amazing. She says, this is an organization that's all they do, and they are still struggling with how do you guide the parent on how to
Mm.
guide the child. And that's why they're just in love with this book, because they said this is perfect. This is what the parent needs to guide them, to guide the child. And so we're excited to get those out there. I'll be interested to see what the feedback is on that.
Right. So, what advice would you give aspiring authors or illustrators who want to create like a meaningful stories for children?
Well, never give up your childlike instinct. My mother at 96 was still saying, I got to grow old, but I don't have to grow up. So I just sort of embrace that. And like I said, a lot of my artwork is very serious, but my favorite artwork is where I have fun with it.
Mm.
And I think that's the thing for anyone who's going to draw or write, is that you've got to love it yourself. You've got to enjoy it and bring out whatever feelings you have, and it'll work. Otherwise, it doesn't. If you're trying to write or paint something for what other people want, there's no way it's going to work. And I think with me, it was the artwork that started first. And by the time I got to my third book, it was a combination. I had the story going in my head, and I would do some of the artwork. And for each image, I would do 3 or 4 renderings until I got the right one that I wanted. And
Mm.
sometimes, actually, there was a part of the story that was heading in one direction, and I couldn't come up with artwork I liked. So I took that part of the story out. I thought, okay, it's not meant to be. So
Mm.
anyway, but if anyone's starting out, the thing I would warn them about is, there's going to be 1,000 people come out of the woodwork and say, "Oh, I can help you with this. I can help you market your book," and they're not. So they have to be very, very careful about people that solicit them online and text and whatever. But again, this finding stress-free marketing helped me tremendously. And
Right.
if they have a big brother like that to guide them, that's, I think, really important.
Right. So, Donna, if people want to learn more about you, your artwork, and your stories, where's the best place they could go to?
Well, the book online is mrfuzzyears.com. That's mrfuzzyears.com. And it's linked to my art page. And if you want to go to the art directly, it's donnacarroberts.com. And
There it
that'll
is.
show you,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my horse paintings from when I was in Arizona. So, and that's one of my portraits. I love animals. I love painting
Right.
horses, and yeah. Yeah, I got Willie Nelson
Beautiful.
up there. You see him, so
There he
And like I
is.
said,
Yeah.
I do have fun with my art. Scroll back down and you can see my classic paintings with cell phones. That's where I took a combination of serious art and fun. You know,
Yes.
American Gothic with their phone and Mona with hers, and yeah, Madame
Yeah.
X.
Well, listen, when's the fourth Mr. Fuzzy Ears book coming out then?
Well, you're nice to ask. Actually, I've been putting it off because I have a lot of projects. I have a lot of artwork I'm trying to get done, but I have already started it. And one of the suggestions from one of the children is that Mr. Fuzzy Ears goes back in time. And I'm sure there are time travel books out there. So whenever I get into something, there has to be a purpose.
Right.
And so what we're doing, the beginning of the story, and I'll give you a teaser. Aloysius, the wise old owl who you saw in Mystery of the Missing Bunnies, is teaching Mr. Fuzzy Ears to read. And they're going through all these books, and Mr. Fuzzy Ears is so excited about reading, which is a good message, that his energy goes to the book and the characters jump out of the book and they start running off. He chases them to the magic forest where he meets Luna, the lightning bug, who takes him through a time warp. And he goes back in time and he gets to meet the pets of famous people. And through the pets, he finds out the history of these people. Like Fido was Abraham Lincoln's dog. So
Right.
he'll interview Fido and find out who Abe Lincoln was. And it's just, anyway, I don't want to give too much away, but
That's
that's kind of,
exciting.
well, it's kind of, a sneaky lesson in history. You don't know you're
Right.
getting educated and you're having so much fun with the story. So
Right. Donna, this has been an amazing conversation, and I look forward to having you come back on then in
thank you.
a few months or something, I guess, maybe.
Sure, I can show you some of the new artwork then if you want. I won't have written any new books after that,
Yeah. Yeah.
before then, but I can show you some of the funky new things I've done. So,
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Donna.
thank you, Barney. You're a hoot.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 388. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're honored to have with us the nationally recognized. Geez, let me do that again. I almost got it. All right, here we go.